So I would call on all 46 Republicans to unite, to stand together and to vote against cloture on the bill on Friday or Saturday, because otherwise, if we vote with the majority leader and with the Senate Democrats, we will be voting to allow the majority leader to fund Obamacare on a straight party line vote, a 51-vote partisan vote. The American people will understand that. And voting to give that power to the majority leader, I would suggest, is not consistent with, I believe, the heartfelt commitment of all 46 members of this conference to oppose Obamacare. The only path, if we're going to oppose Obamacare, is to stand together and oppose cloture. And I would ask for my friends on the Democratic aisle to listen to this.
The hour of noon having arrived pursuant to the order of the Senate will be. The Senate will be in order.
All right, the Senate will be in order. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. That was the end of Ted Cruz's 21-hour plus. Well, you can't call it a filibuster because officially it's not a filibuster, but 21-hour plus, shall we say, quasi-filibuster on the floor of the Senate. And joining us now to talk about all this is a man who wrote about all this in his column today in the Washington Times, our friend Charles Hurt. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
Real good, real good.
All right. So you see, I got to tell you, you and I very rarely disagree, but we may disagree a little bit on.
We disagree on this. How what a surprise! I could have guessed.
We may disagree on that. All right, so you don't like what Cruz did, or you don't think it's worth anything?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I think that taking any opportunity there is to highlight the deep destructiveness of Obamacare and to highlight what a travesty of justice it will be and what a burden it will be on American families and companies. Anytime you do that, it is a great thing. And I thought, and I loved watching him do it here last night, and I thought it was absolutely, I was thrilled when as I pointed out, every time he punches Obamacare in the nose, I leap to my feet and jump for joy. The problem is, it's not a good strategy, and I feel like a lot of these guys went a little too far in suggesting that they actually have a strategy to defund and kill Obamacare, and as a conservative, as somebody who has been in this fight for years, I get a little wary of this stuff, and I get a little tired of it because I want to start winning fights. I love getting the pitchforks out and banging them on the floor and everything, but I want to start winning. And the way only way to start winning is if the House has passed 43 bills to kill Obamacare, and every single one of them dies at the door of the Senate. And until the Senate until the people who voted for Obamacare are punished and replaced, we will not see this bill go away. And I think suggesting any sort of false, any other strategies, you're either woefully mistaken or being somewhat misleading. And I think that is a danger for someone who like Ted Cruz, for whom I have such enormous respect. And I think he's an honest man, and we need more people like him. And I just think that it's worth pointing out that, hey, guy, this is not going to work.
Okay, obviously, and he knew that, and he was even powerless to go on beyond the noon time period, Eastern time. So he knew that this wasn't, in a sense, a real filibuster where he could have kept it going for as long as he could physically do it. But having said that, the Republican strategy in general, under what what you wrote, your column indicated that, and as you said, punish the senators that voted for it. I'm all with you. This health care bill was passed without one single Republican vote, and many Democrats voted against it. But even if we take back the Senate, we being the Republicans in 2014, you got to wait at least until 2016 because nothing, it'll be vetoed by the president. So then you got to elect a Republican president, keep the Senate, keep the House, and by then Obamacare is 2-3 years old. So do you at least agree with the Ted Cruz aside and his strategy, the strategy of the Republicans in the House, where ultimately maybe they'll at least defund maybe the device tax in exchange for a continuing resolution, or maybe get rid of the congressional staffer advantage as part of the congressional
Bingo.
Yeah,
Bingo.
and then have this fight in the debt ceiling.
Yeah, if I think anything targeted is very, very smart, because let's also not forget that if Obamacare, if this came to a showdown and Democrats did what I suspect they will do, which is allow the government to shut down and then successfully blame Republicans,
right,
because they always win when they do that. If that happens, let's not forget Obamacare continues. Obamacare is a zombie legislation. You shut down a lot of things in the government with a government shutdown. Obamacare is not, many parts of Obamacare rather, are not shut down in a government shutdown. So, that's at best a Pyrrhic victory. But what you just said about those targeted tactics, I absolutely think that is all we should be talking about right now. And I think that we should be talking about a delay. I think that if we put out there legislation to delay Obamacare for a year with all the troubles that people are reading about, people are genuinely worried about it, I think you put a lot of Democrats in a very, very tough position not to go along with the delay. And then when you have Democrats and Republicans going to President Obama saying we need to delay, heck, the White House keeps delaying all these parts of it because they're afraid of what is actually going to happen, because even they had no idea what was going on. But the other thing, the thing that you mentioned that is the most important thing in my mind is this business about the exemption for Congress. If Republican and Mitch McConnell this afternoon, to his credit, called for this exemption to be killed, and that's a big deal, because if Republicans could unify in both the House and the Senate to go ahead and bite the bullet, swallow hard, and accept the punishing costs of Obamacare, even though it means it's going to be a brain drain from Congress, which of course is a laugher to you and me. the notion that we're going to lose that brain, maybe that'll be a step in the right direction. But that you talk about that is real populism. That is real belief in taking our government back. That is forcing these people in Congress to live under the law, the horrible laws they have created for the rest of us. And that is a absolute winner. You could win the presidency on that one issue. And so, that's to me the way to go.
All right. Well, we will see how this plays out, because it's got to play out pretty quickly. We're talking to Charles Hurt, the Washington Times columnist, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let's turn our attention a little bit, if we can, to yesterday. Yesterday was something at the United Nations. We had the President of the United States standing there and saying, here's why Iran doesn't like us, and he lists grievances. And here's why we don't like them. In other words, we both have good points here, but let's be friends. And he wanted to shake the president of Iran's hand, and the president of Iran basically, it's just too involved, it won't work. He got turned down by the president of Iran, but you know what? It's not going to stop him.
Yeah, it has to have been. Yesterday has to have been the lowest point in American foreign policy standing in literally, not since Jimmy Carter.
That's what I was going to say, since Carter, yeah.
Yeah, just a snap, only because there were so many, because there was such a public display of American lives in jeopardy at that time. But the tossing away of power and the and what was that line he used? Hard-earned humility.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Steve?
It doesn't mean. Wait, Charles. Like a lot of the things he says, it doesn't mean anything.
I don't know that. It scares me. I think it might mean something. I think it really might mean something like he wants to be a weak country,
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that. Funny, we had Rich Grinnell on yesterday. He was a spokesman for 4 U.S. ambassadors to the United Nations. He's now Fox News contributor. And he said he used to believe that Obama was just inept with his foreign policy and his goals. But now he truly believes that Obama wants to be just, and I don't know how many nations there are in the United Nations, but he wants to be just one of 116. Just wants to be one of the group. Doesn't want to be anything special or more than that.
Yeah, like America needs to be, it needs to be sort of busted down to
right, put in its place.
To a lower rank.
Yeah, put in its place.
And maybe he's trying to cozy up to Putin because we know that that's certainly what Putin believes. But also in that same speech, he was talking about there isn't yet another country. If America pulls back from its place in the world, that it'll leave a void, and yet there isn't yet another country that is able to fill that void.
Yeah, the contradiction was amazing.
And he's waiting for that country to suddenly come along that will be.
You're saying he was lamenting the fact that there wasn't another country.
Yes, I mean I can't think of another way of even reading it.
Yeah,
I guess he wants to. I guess he wants Iran maybe to step in. He wants to wait for Iran or Egypt to get big enough to fill that void, maybe.
And by the way, here's a country that he says has killed our soldiers through proxies or themselves. Done all kinds of horrific, terrible things. And yet, if only they won't get nuclear weapons, they'll be our pal. First of all, they recognize Hezbollah. They recognize Hamas. They are the proxy for. Hezbollah is their proxy, and he ignores all that.
Yeah. Did you see where the president and Rouhani, or however you pronounce his name, in Iran had given an interview to CNN in which he referred to the Holocaust,
yes,
the Jewish Holocaust, and even used the word reprehensible, and now the entire Iranian state is in turmoil. They're denying that he ever used those terms. He never used the word Holocaust or reprehensible, and yet these are the people who are our new friends.
Not only that, this guy is now a moderate because he didn't deny the Holocaust. He didn't affirm it. He said that's for historians, but because he didn't deny it, he's now a moderate.
Yeah. Well, maybe President Obama should tap Putin to negotiate between us and try to work out a deal with the Iranians on our behalf.
Yeah, Putin should get the Nobel Peace Prize next, I guess.
Yes, he should. Or at least maybe Obama should give him his.
Oh, my God. You know what I liked best out of yesterday? Bill Clinton interviewing Barack Obama. I can't even believe the world we're living in anymore. I can't even believe it.
Do you ever, and I can't believe I'm asking this on live radio.
Go ahead.
Do you ever find yourself missing Bubba?
Well, yes. See, Bubba, here's the deal. I was one of those, Y2K, and I thought that Bill Clinton, seriously, one day would impose martial law, but he had he only had interest in his zipper. Barack Obama is the one who despises our country's history, thinks the Constitution is flawed, wants to fundamentally change us from top to bottom. Yes, so the answer is I'd feel safer with Bill Clinton. Yeah.
No, whatever you want to say about Bill Clinton, he was an entertaining scamp.
Yeah.
And this guy is just he vacillates between being utterly boring professor type to being really scary in his weird, whacked out worldview. Yeah,
it is.
Well, I kind of miss Bubba sometimes.
All right. Well, I want the next column to be on missing Bubba.
And by the way, I want to be on the record. I heaped praise on Ted Cruz. I love Ted Cruz, and I love what he's standing for. But I don't.
Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. I think you expressed it well in words and in writing. My friend, we'll speak to you next week.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Charles Hurt, ladies and gentlemen, Washington Times. Very, very interesting. Do you miss Bubba? Yeah, I do. No, I don't. But if I had to choose right now, would I want Bill Clinton to be the president? Or would I want Barack Obama to be the president? I can't think of too many people I would say Barack Obama over. So Bill Clinton certainly, because like I said, I don't think Bill Clinton fundamentally despises America, America's history, America's foundation, and everything we stand for. So it's not even a choice. What do you say? 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.